Hello, and today I'm going to explain to you how to use the built-in lives drag and drop stuff that comes with GameMaker. Now, lives is a global variable. That means you can only use it on one object because can be seen by all the objects. So if you change the lives on the enemy, it would also change the lives on your player if you were to use this on both. So there's some more programming that you would have to do to use it on enemies. We'll cover that in a different tutorial. So here is my player, and I'll just run the game here and explain to you what's going on. I've set the lives to 3 when the game starts, and they're displayed up here and here. There are 2 different ways of displaying lives. You can just have a little caption and the number of lives, or you can represent them as 3 images. When I hit space, it takes a life away until we check the lives and it gets down to 0. It shows the high score menu and ends the game. Here's how that's done. It's all done on the player here. So I did a creation event and I used set lives right here, and I set it to 3. Let me move this stuff up here. Make it a little easier. Okay, so lives are set to 3. Then what I'm doing is a draw event. Of course, I draw myself so it doesn't go away, and I'm just drawing the lives at 0, 0, and the caption's lives. That was the number you saw. And you can draw life images, and I put X of 200 to move it over so it wouldn't go on top of the other draw the number of lives. And I just use this same sprite. Some games will have you make a smaller sprite so they're a little smaller in the corner. It's pretty simple. And then to mess with it a little bit, to test it, I just say when I hit space, I'm going to set the lives to -1 relative to what they are already, so it'll just take 1 off the lives every time I hit space. And then I have a simple step event that checks using this right here. If lives is equal to 0, we're going to show the high score and end the game. It's that simple for lives. Oops, that was a little loud. For the player. Now, if you want to create lives for 2 different players, we'll pretend this is another player, then you have to program it. If you ever want to do that, here's how you do it. Here's my enemy. I have to use its own variable now. So I set this variable when it's created. I set this variable of enemy lives to 3. Let me move this up here. So I've created that variable. I have an enter key here that takes 1 off every time it's pressed. That could be in a collision event for you. And then here's what I did. I drew the sprite so it wouldn't disappear. Then I drew text called enemy lives up at 0, 0. And I drew the value of it, and I moved the number out about 100 so it wouldn't write it over the top of my text that I have right here called enemy lives. Now, if you want to draw the actual sprites, you'd have to do something like this. You'd have to say, hey, if the value or the variable enemy lives is equal to 3, draw 3 sprites up there within these start and end blocks. So if this is true, all 3 of these things will happen. And then I had to kind of figure out, okay, I'm going to put the first one at 300, second one at 350, and the third one at 400. Now if you just had 2 lives, so you'd have to check the value of that variable again, which is called enemy lives. If it's equal to 2, okay, we're going to run some code. And I wonder if I can just copy, paste that there. We want just the first 2. Copy, paste it there. Should draw the first one at 350 and the second one at 300. Did I get that right? 300. 350, and then so forth. If it was 1, then you would just draw the first one. Well, let's see how that looks. It's a little more clumsy. It's a little bit of work, but you know, we'll see how it works out. Alright, there are my 3 lives. The built-in global one for the player. So if I hit space, bye-bye. I'm not going to go all the way. And now the enter key will take lives off of the enemy. Down to 2. And I didn't do the programming for 1, so when 1 live, it takes all of them off and enter. Boom. It. You know, I also had a check on the enemy step event. If enemy lives is equal to 0, you show the high score and end the game. So that's basically how you would do it if you had to do 2 players or an enemy if you wanted lives on your enemy. Okay, have fun.